This time on Woody's Garage, we drag out a golden moldy.
Well, what we got here is a 1967 CL90. I actually have two of these. I bought one that was in pretty good shape. I rebuilt the top end, got it running, all is great on that. And while I was working on it, somebody offered me another one rather cheaply. So I said, I like this one so much, I want to get another one. So yeah, I got another one. This one I've always kind of liked. This gets these secondary parts, whatever, you know, trying to find parts. And it's not as in good shape as the other one. I'll show you the other one. Well, that's kind of hard to see in here. You can see the Broncos in there. I think we're going to think about that one for a little while. But this one's in really good shape here. And I also have a S90 too over here. And that one I've had running pretty darn good too. But it also needs, you know, some work. So, you know, it's kind of the way I am. I work on things and I move on to something else. And I can always come back to them. Or if I get sick of them, I sell them. So that's kind of the way it goes. So this one, the deal was, I got an engine with this. But the guy shipped it in a, you know, the storage container things with like no padding around it, and it broke a bunch of things. It broke the clutch mount off. It seemed to be jammed in gear. He said no, the gears worked fine when he shipped it. There was oil all over the place. I mean, it was just a freaking mess. But this engine I bought later. This is an early S60 engine. You can see the how the carburetor's mounted, kind of the linear way. Usually they're like this. This engine I actually had running, but very, very poorly. Decided to get a new piston for it. The new piston was the wrong size. I put it in anyway and kind of said the heck with it. But there was another issue with it too, that the cam, there's like a rubber wheel that the cam chain goes on in here. And that I never felt like the chain was actually on it. It could slip right off. And I asked a bunch of S90 experts and nobody had an answer for me. And it's very hard to find new cylinders for the older S90 as far as I know. I couldn't really find one. And now the prices are getting astronomical. So I was thinking of looking at all the parts I have for Honda 90s. I do have like two other engines that are just like, you know, completely apart and stuff like that, and maybe try to build one engine and get it going and see if we can revive this baby. It friggin' smells. It smells so moldy from being down here, but no matter. We got some air in the tires, so we'll start looking at it as I think about what I'm gonna do. Now this was the engine that I got that came shipped with it. And you can see it broke off some fins and stuff like that. I thought it broke off the clutch mount, but maybe it didn't. I'm pretty sure this was the engine. Brake here, but that was before I got it. It's missing a couple of screws. It's stuck in gear. But, you know, I always go with the idea like, hey, maybe I can get it going and get it out of gear somehow. But, I mean, the splines look good on the kickstart. The covers on it, missing the points and stuff up here, but I'm pretty sure I got other plates that can go in here. I think the one off that other engine actually will work here too. So we'll probably mount this engine and see if we can get it going. Okay, here is engine number 3. Now I got 4 total, but the 4th one is all in total basket case. This one I picked up probably about 10 years ago from a guy. It was stuck in gear, and in this kind of condition you can kind of tell the head's off and stuff like that. I got myself a note here. So there's no cam chain, piston, cylinder worn, etc. Okay, but somehow I'm thinking, you know, like I said, it's been 10 years, and I can't really remember where I was at with the other engine, this guy over here. This is the one that came with the bike. I can't remember what was going on with this thing. I know that one that's on there really leaks a lot of oil, and the cylinder's bad, so You know, you think you could make one engine out of them all? Would be good. You know, it'd be nice to rebuild one correctly too. I also got 3 big boxes full of parts. And, you know, it was something to talk myself into doing this, because it's really opening a can of worms. It's just like you got to look through all this stuff, and you'll probably end up back at, you know, where you were. It, you know, things needed a lot of work or a lot of money in parts or something like that. Now, a lot of these have a number, like, you know, like this M3 here. They're different series. I think this is a newer one, and that one's a newer one. But the one that's on the bike now is an older one. Yeah, this one just says E. I heard the E stands for the economy motor, but that could be nonsense. I really don't know. Okay, number 2, I put some vice grips on. It does turn over. Feels like it has compression. These aren't too hard to mount. You know, the coil's right there. And, you know, I think I just might pull the other engine down. That other engine just like, it leaks oil like a sieve, and I can't find out where it is. The one that's on the bike, we'll call that number 1, the old one. And like I said, I swapped out the piston on it. You can see on number 2 and 3 that the carburetor mounts like this, where the old one mounts like this. It's kind of offset. Now, another difference, supposedly, which I'm having a problem with number 1, is that this holds this little cam chain stabilizer guide, I guess, in here. It's a piece of like rubber, and on number 1, it just doesn't seem to line up right. It's too loose and all over the place. But you know, I think maybe we'll try this one. I don't know. This one's stuck in gear though, so you start it up, hopefully it'll come out of gear. I don't know. Doubtful, but. Alright, number 2, it looks like the drain plug, which is right there, is actually loose. So we're going to get whatever oil is in it, still in it, out of it, and put some fresh oil in it and see if it holds oil. Hopefully this thing won't leak all over the place too. Okay, we got some oil in it. The reason I'm putting an oil in now before I mount it on the bike is to see if it leaks. Because I can't remember if it did or not. Okay, this thing's going to need a points plate and points. The condenser is mounted back here on the coil, and I'm sure all these wires are going to come back to me after I start working on it a little bit and figuring it out. So I think the thing to do is start going through those boxes and seeing what I got for parts. I know I got like lots of miscellaneous nuts and bolts, etc. That'll come in very handy. We have an issue still over here where, you know, part of this case was broken off, and you know, you get a little bit of JB Weld here, but nothing really holding this down. And then I got a screw missing here, so that could certainly leak when it starts up. I'm sure I got a screw that'll go in there, or I will get one. You know, at the same time, I'm still thinking about this one too. I'm not abandoning anything. Now this one, look at it, has a funky oil fill. And I showed a picture of this to somebody, and they said like, oh, that was a racing engine or some crap, because it has this extended neck here for supposedly maybe a little more oil, or just had a breather or something. I don't know, but it's definitely an aftermarket deal. Yeah, we'll think about taking another look at the top end of this thing and trying to figure out why it doesn't have a cam chain on it. You know, I can get a cam chain. But there may be more issues down below down here with the gear down here. So I guess we got to look through parts. Well, we got to open box number 1 of S90 parts. Cylinder head of a more modern one with a manifold. That's good. Hey, look, a cylinder, huh? It doesn't look half bad. This was the cam chain piece I was talking about. See, this one sits exactly where it's supposed to. The one in this engine number 1, the old engine, can slide all over the place. You know, I got something missing in there. Oh, look at more manifolds. Oh, this is like Christmas. That looks like an aftermarket carburetor. And that doesn't quite look like a 90 manifold, but maybe it is. Maybe aftermarket. Another manifold. Beautiful. Yeah, that's a good looking kickstart, huh? Actually, it might not be bad. Yeah, it looks like shit. Oh, another kickstart. And foot pegs. And I was probably using this as an exhaust pipe piece at a time. Part of a clutch. Oh, points. Plugs. A lever. I guess this is clutch side. Oh, look at this. This has been cut and geez, I think it's aluminum, so tigged back together. Maybe it was an offset and they made it a regular. Yeah, I got 3 boxes of stuff like this. It's a wiring harness. I know one of these bikes, I think maybe the one I'm working on now, I replaced the harness because it was full of clipped wires. Petcock, a rectifier, and ooh, all sorts of bulbs and stuff, electrical goodies. So, but I was still looking for a points plate and cam chain and things I can use right now. So, okay, we know what's in this box. Now here's box number 2, CT90 it says. I had a CT90, which is, you know, the off-road one. That's kind of a step through the high-low gears and stuff like that. Sold that a while back, but I kept these. Look at that, a brand new throttle cable. Beautiful. Ooh, it's like Christmas. We got some foot pegs. Boy, could use that. Huh? Probably put these on my better one though and take those off and put them on this bike. For this thing I was thinking, like, you know, it'd be fun to have it kind of off-roadish. Got a couple of coils. We got, what is that thing? Oh, fork lock. Carb kit. I was thinking it was rings. A carburetor kit. Another manifold. Slide, throttle slide. That goes on the handlebars that holds the cable. I don't have one of those. Ooh, another head. Another head. Really, this is totally surprising to me. I think that's a piston right there. Gosh, that piston looks brand new. No, it's not. I don't have my glasses on. Is I missing a ring? I don't know. This is probably the one I pulled out of number 1. I'm going to put this aside. Anyway, you kind of get the idea. I know this is probably kind of obnoxious. But, okay, we're going to look at number 3. Believe it or not, I actually have a number 4 too. All nuts and bolts. And box 3. Geez, I didn't know I had this. Nice. You know, sometimes you pick up stuff at swap meets and stuff, and you put it aside. You don't even think about it too much, but it's about the extent of this. So no, in all of this, I don't see any points plate. Okay, this box I do remember. I bought a cylinder and a piston that were matched and supposedly in good shape, and when they got here they had no rings on it, and I said, hey buddy, you said it had rings on it, and he goes, I'll send you all the parts, how's that? And so I said, oh, okay. So he sent me all this. You know, because he didn't have the rings. Shifter drum. Yeah, I could use this. I'm still looking for that points plate. Lots of nice screws and stuff. Oh, yeah, this is one of those cam things. Cam chain things. Huh. An advanced unit. The things you can put on absolutely backwards. Yeah. But still no points plate. So we may have to share from engine to engine. Isolator. That's a shifter fork right there. And lastly, engine number 4. My God. Not even sure where I got this one. I'm not sure if I ripped it down or if I bought it this way. Let's see what's in here. Got a really beat piston. Don't know if it went to this engine or not. We found a cam chain roller. Finally figured out the name of that. And the points plate we were looking for, which is pretty cool. And we got a head gasket. I think I can reuse that. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the state of this thing was. I can see that I probably pulled it apart because I don't know, this is before I knew how to do the timing. You know, I just zip tie the cam chain and the sprocket where it's supposed to go, so that when I put it back together I'd know, but you know, that's not an issue. Yeah. It's about 95 out, and this is in the shade. Very, very humid. Gross. There's one piston, 0.5 over. The oil ring on the bottom, the compression ring, is moving, and the top two are really stiff. So I think we might soak this one up a little bit. A little mystery oil on it. See if we can loosen those up. We'll measure the other piston up. The other piston seems to measure, and it's a little smaller, so it's probably a standard piston. And the rings on it are non-existent. Well, I shouldn't say that. Just the top ring is missing. You see chunks of it still in there. I think this one came out of this engine. The newer piston will not fit into the cylinder that I have, and the old crappy piston will just like barely fit in. I think it's oversized for it too, so this might be like one oversized, and the good news is the cylinder might actually be stock. Here you can see the difference with the cam guide screw with a newer one, and these parts are not interchangeable, unfortunately. You know what's weird is it just kicked it down, and it sounded like it has compression, which is weird because, like I said, the piston I bought for this, I bought a brand new piston for it, put it in, it wasn't the right size. Let's put it that way, and so it wouldn't run or stay running because it didn't have enough compression. And I kind of knew that was a problem as soon as I got the piston, but put it together anyway. So I'm trying to, with all these parts that I've looked at, the engines, etc., I'm trying to think of what to do next. And I already got a mess, got engines everywhere and parts everywhere. So I want to try to think of logically what's the next thing to do. I was thinking of pulling this engine off, but maybe I should look at the top end, because you don't have to take the engine off to do that. And go from there. But I'm still thinking about it. Well, I got to do something. So today I decided I'm pulling this engine off. Yes, because of its noted problems. I want to try another one. It's not too hard to take off. I'm going to take out these two screws here so I can take the chain off. And there's just one wire here for the ignition. And the carb has to come off. I can't use that carb on the other engine because of the offset mounting. And I think I can leave the exhaust on. The foot pegs actually attached to the bottom of the engine, but we don't need those right now. So let's get to work. Okay, we took out the throttle slide. We unhitched the ignition, the one wire ignition. We unhitched the clutch from there. We took off the exhaust. And now I see one bolt here, and there's supposed to be another one there. I guess I neglected to put that in. I thought there was a third one. I'll probably find it in a minute. Let's loosen up the top one and go from there. Yeah, the other bolt's right here. So there's 3 total. 1, 2, 3. Okay, bottom one's loose. We're going to pull this top one while holding the engine up, and then we got some wood underneath to cradle the fall. I think by pulling this out it will fall forward, but I can't remember if that's absolutely true, because it might get hung up on some of this other stuff. Yeah, it does fall forward, but it's still kind of like wedged in there, kind of. And I think I'm going to have to tap this bolt out now because it is not free anymore. And then we should be able to slide the engine forward. What was easier is I put the bolt back in on the top, slid the bottom one out, and then pulled up on the engine and pulled this one out without any problem at all, and the engine just flopped right down. Putting it in should be just as easy, but it never is for me. It's down. Now there's the umbilical cord from the magneto. It has a connector way up in here. You always wish it was a little longer, but that's it. Easier to take off than it is to put on. So this engine is out. Engine number 2, I'm using the jack to get it in there. That connection here with my fingers up there, it's coupled together. I couldn't tell if it was bottomed out or not, or even if it's making a connection. We're keeping our fingers crossed that it did make a connection, and I guess we'll take it from there. Got this all in one of the holes. Now I gotta jack this up so that it lines up with this hole. Easier said than done. Maybe we'll shoot for this one instead. But let's see what happens. Okay, we got this one in and that one in. They went in pretty easy. And now this hole is open. I don't have another bolt, but I got this broken off bolt that will serve to just sit there for now. Just needs a little tap, it'll go in. Yeah, this guy's temporary. Just had to pick up on the front of the engine a little bit and it went right in. So we got those temporarily in. We'll just keep them loose for now. I want to see if I can get a spark. I need to mount the points plate on here. And I did find one, so we'll see if we can get a spark out of it first, I guess, after I clean up all this junk around here. Well, here are my 2 points plates that I have, and they're definitely different. I don't know if you can see it right off the bat, like what's different. Or maybe just the points themselves are different. But like, look at this guy. It's like sitting up on some bumps that are made to adjust, I would think. This one looks like it's probably the better one to go with because the points look like they match the backing plate. So we're going to take them off, clean them up a little bit, and see if we can mount this plate. Yeah, it looks like the points plates are the same. It's the points that are wrong. These are not the right points for this. So I'm just going to take them off. Well, wrong again. They are different. But those points definitely did not belong on that plate. So let's see if we can get one set that looks like it's going to work. But the points are the same. But I do bet there's two different backing plates and two different types of points for the 90s. I don't doubt that at all. Okay, the point plate is mounted. It is right about in the center. You can see that's where you put the screwdriver in to set the timing. And then you set the points over here. Wire comes out right now. I don't have a bullet receptor on the other side here. So we're just going to probably use an alligator clip or something like that. Another thing that's interesting about this engine, that this actually is a CL90 engine rather than an S90 engine. And the differences being that the transmission gearing was a little different because this was made for off-roading. Yeah, it looks so off-road, doesn't it? So, next thing, if I remember right, now these can get a spark sometimes without a battery, sometimes they need it. It's very weird. Some people say like, oh, you definitely don't need a battery. Other people say, well, you know, sometimes you get a lot better spark if you use a battery. So I'm going to hitch up some kind of power supply, or I might have a 6-volt battery around that I'll probably give a charge to. I think it would probably be better because we'll see if the key switch and lights and stuff work, because I know they work to a degree. And we'll see how they work now.